Hello, Internet. Welcome. I am Ryan Ingram, and this is the Friday morning live stream. So it has been a couple of weeks. I'm really excited to be back. Thank you to everybody who's been diligently asking some questions in the comment section. So let me go ahead and get set up. Here is the disclaimer. And then also, as always, you are more than welcome to post any questions that you have in the chat to kind of catch up for all the things that we've been doing. Let's see here. We currently have about a little over 40 projects that are currently in the works. We're trying to get that number down. Obviously, we have holding costs on all of these properties, so they're better to be lived in and rented out than vacant and being worked on. So from a cash flow perspective, that is the wrong way to go. It's always better to be bringing money in than sending money out. So that is kind of what we are working on, having focused on. We have 20 properties under contract at the moment. And so far this year, we've purchased 24 properties. So last year, we purchased a little over 200 doors, I think about 213. And that was somewhere between 17 and 18 properties that we were closing per month. So we have slowed down since it is going to be the end of March soon. And we're only at 24. So that puts us behind the pace of purchasing 200 this year. But what we're making a big push, just as a portfolio perspective goes, is refinancing a lot of these and kind of repositioning ourselves to be more so to have a better balance between long-term debt and short-term debt. So that's what we're working on. It has been a lot of fun. We're learning a lot of lessons as we go, and we're having the time of our lives figuring out how to run this business, really. So if you are familiar with me, neither my brother nor I really have a background in running businesses. So almost each time we hit an obstacle, it's a new experience, something that we have not yet done before. And sifting through this is really cool. It's a lot of fun. So I'm very thankful for the great team that we have. And I'm also super thankful to be kind of building this business with my brother. So that's fun. Hello. I sure am. I sure am. And I hope you are as well. Let's see. One of the questions that I had, let me see if I could pull it up, if I can figure out how to do that. It was from Mr. Ortega. All right. So he asked, can you make a video on how to accumulate properties as fast as possible and what is a realistic goal? I think that's a really good question and one that would be impossible to answer kind of from like a broad strokes perspective. So, I mean, I think the reality is that the majority of people that are actively building real estate portfolios are either high net worth individuals where they have had like an exit in a previous business, or they are high income earners that just make way more than what it costs them to live. So they kind of acquire rental properties kind of as they go. So the answer in a nutshell is you can only grow your rental portfolio as fast as you can accumulate enough funds to do so, right? That is, I think, the most traditional answer that one could give. However, the way that we have scaled so quickly is we don't have any of our own money into any of these deals. So we use private lenders. These are friends, these are family members, and we finance 100% of the purchase price and the rehab costs. So that allows us to not be limited by the amount of income that we have. So, or the amount of money that we have. Like, we're not in danger of running out of money if we're not using any of our own money in any deals, because no matter how high your net worth is, no matter how much income you make, if you're using your own cash to do your own deals, then at some point you're going to run out of funds. It's just how it works. And then you're going to pause to as long as it takes for you to refinance, get your funds back out, and repeat the process. So with our model, we've been able to grow so quickly because we use the private lenders. We finance 100% of the purchase price and the rehab costs. We're very careful to make sure that we do not go, the purchase price plus the rehab costs cannot exceed 75% of the after repair value of that property. And that's important because most banks historically give about 75% of the loan to value. So there might be some seasoning involved, which may slow down the process, even if you use private lenders' funds at 100% of the purchase price and rehab costs, because the banks want you to have owned the property for a certain amount of time before they do a refinance on the property. However, if you stay at or below 75% of the loan to value, then when you refinance the property, you're going to utilize the bank's funds to pay back the private lender's funds in its entirety. So then you don't have any money in that deal at all, and you've just had, the time, energy, and effort in finding the property, orchestrating the rehab of the property, renting the property out, and then refinancing the property. So you've got a lot of time, energy, and effort wrapped up into it, but you don't have any of your own funds left in the deal. So you can only scale as fast as you can move that money around. And that's all it's limited to if you're using private lenders and then refinancing with traditional banks or institutional lenders. And then if you are more debt averse, if you are building a portfolio off of your income or your net worth, then you can only go as fast as you can either make or save money. So at the end of the day, this question is an extraordinarily personal one where you have to come up with your own personal preferences. You have to decide your own risk tolerances and go from there. Hello. I don't know what you mean. Do not know what you mean, but good morning. And hey, thanks for asking that question that I just answered. I hope that was helpful. I hope that was exactly what you were looking for. Let me scroll through the other questions. Let's see here. Another question. Well, first, let me do the low-hanging fruit on this one. It is so common for people to watch one of my videos about a property that I either purchased, one of the deals explained videos, or just hear me in general talking. And I ultimately get, what state are you in? I'm in Ohio. More specifically, I'm in Montgomery County. More specifically, I'm in Dayton, Ohio. So if you are watching this in disbelief of the prices that I'm putting out, I mean, do realize that some of these videos are pretty old, from 2000, I don't remember, maybe 2020. And I was discussing then deals that I may have purchased in 2018, 2019. So the market has definitely increased as of late. And even if we hit like a substantial decrease in sales prices, I don't think it's realistic anymore for us to get back to those 2017 or 18 prices. So even the deals that I'm speaking of and that I've made videos about might not be available anymore. However, compared to the rest of the nation, Montgomery County and Dayton is an extraordinarily affordable place to live. And if you are looking to invest in rental properties, Dayton Montgomery County, the state of Ohio, outside of the really huge metro areas like Cincinnati and Columbus. I think Cleveland is probably still, I'm sure there's still a lot of really good deals up there to be had. So it's still a market that is in need of significant more investments and really good real estate investors to operate in this market. So by all means, bring as much money as you would like to Dayton or Ohio. And if it's significantly better than the market that you live in, consider moving to the area. We could use all the help that we can get. I know there are several people that have moved here from out of state that have quickly built portfolios of, a life-changing number of properties. So it is definitely, there's tons of opportunity to go around. I don't see any shortage of opportunity for anyone. So give it a shot if you feel so inclined. Another question that I get really frequently is, should you put every property in a different LLC, or will one LLC for all properties be sufficient? And I got to say, this is also a personal preference issue. I think that from a cost perspective, it probably doesn't make sense, depending on your purchase price of these properties, to do one property per LLC. If you're doing one property per LLC on $50,000 to $100,000 properties, I think even $200,000 properties, you're probably going to spin your wheels, because you are going to pick up more admin costs. You're going to need to keep separate books, and each LLC is going to need its own tax filing. So the more LLCs you have, the more you are increasing like your bookkeeping and accounting fees. So you definitely, or the fees associated with starting LLCs, depending on what state it is. So you definitely want to weigh the benefit that you would get with the complexity that you're adding to yourself from an administrative perspective, and also the cost that you're adding from an administrative perspective. So, in theory, you shouldn't be able to pierce any individual LLCs. So if you have one property in one LLC, then if something horrible happens at that property, the only assets they have access to, in theory, is that one property. But if you don't keep up your books on the back end, if attorney is really after you, if you've got a bad case of just extraordinary negligence against you, who knows all the variables that are at play here. But that veil or that LLC could be pierced, and it could go to your parent company or you as an individual, and the liability spread that way. So it really comes down to a personal preference and a kind of risk tolerance perspective. I think if you were to get, like, I am an insurance agent, and I'm pretty familiar with insurance, especially, kind of liability insurance on properties. So if you carry enough insurance, then you're likely going to insulate yourself pretty well from an insurance perspective, which is exactly what insurance is for. So I think if you were to get an attorney and an insurance agent in a room together to kind of help you figure out how to structure your assets, the attorney will likely figure out your personal risk tolerance, how much you're interested in losing, what would be devastating to you, and what you would be able to live with, right? And they would isolate the number of assets that you're willing to live with if you had to lose all of them, which, again, nobody wants to lose anything, but just it's kind of like planning for your death, right? Planning for a really big liability suit and how you're going to structure it. So if you are able to separate what you're willing to part with in the event of a horrible, catastrophic scenario, then that is what the attorney is going to separate into each LLC or different kind of liability limiting business entity. And from there, the insurance agent is going to make sure that each one of those entities has a sufficient amount of insurance to protect you. So what my advice has been previously is, from an insurance perspective, never skimp on liability. It's just, from a cost perspective, there's not much difference in cost from $300,000 per occurrence to $1 million per occurrence. That's not where you want to try and save your business money. So each time you buy an insurance policy for property, go ahead and max out the liability coverage that that insurance company is going to give you. Usually that's about $1 million per policy, per occurrence, and then like $2 million aggregate. Now, as soon as your net worth surpasses $1 million, you're going to want to cover an umbrella that is equal to or greater than your overall net worth. And the thing about umbrellas is, for the most part, each different entity or LLC that you create is going to need its own umbrella policy. So if you've got 5 different LLCs, then you would need 5 different umbrellas that, let's say your net worth is $2 million, you're going to want 5 different $2 million umbrellas is how I would advocate that you structure it, being an insurance agent, following the advice of an attorney. So again, extraordinarily specific to your particular situation. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I mentioned that this is going to be a short one. So I probably need to leave here in about 15, maybe 20 minutes to get to the title company and to talk with some attorneys on my way. However, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them, and I will do my best to kind of answer them rapid fire. And I need to speak with the attorneys regarding the abandoned mansion project that I'm doing, which I recognize that I said I was going to do videos every Saturday morning. That went out the window whenever we got a stop work order in from the city. I didn't pull all the permits that I was supposed to. And now there are a significant number of liens and other red tapes on that property, which is the whole reason that the property is abandoned in the first place. So on one hand, I'm thankful that it's so encumbered by liens and clouded titles, because it gives me the opportunity to renovate it and move my family there. However, I'm also not thankful for it because it is really slowing down this process. So at the end of the day, I'm being advised, and I am likely not going to put any additional capital into that property until we get some clarification on some of the legal issues that are kind of encumbering the property. For the most part, this ball is in the court of the state of Ohio. They're the lien holders on a lot of the bad debt. So it's just negotiating with them, making sure that these liens can be released. Hey, I appreciate it. I live here in Cleveland. Awesome. Your website is unavailable. Man. Yeah, we're still doing insurance. Let me see how I can do this. Disclaimer. I'm in the Dayton area. Looking to repeat your process. I'm looking for a mentor partner. Do you have any suggestions for a guy just starting out? Yeah, I'm going to put this in the chat. Insuredbyingram.com. Tony's the guy you should talk to. If you are in Dayton or anywhere in Ohio and you would like some insurance, email Tony at insuredbyingram.com. He will he'll get you some good quotes out. And I would say that, the entire way that I've built the insurance agency is not necessarily scalable from a national perspective, but we are partners with some fantastic companies specifically for our real estate investors. So, yeah, I think we're pretty good at it, but I'm also pretty biased. You assist in scalability. I mean, we could talk. Send me an email. My email is ryan@seekwisdom.us. I'll never say no to advice, but we're also, we work with some business coaches now, and our overarching sentiment is, we've got this plan. We've got a good roadmap. Right now, we really just need a little bit more time in executing our plans and roadmap. So we're in a really good spot. But again, I'm a huge fan of wisdom and insight. How are you handling the higher interest rates? Is it killing your cash flow after refinance? I'm feeling discouraged from using private money in these conditions. So the only thing that the higher interest rates impact from this business model, if you're analyzing it from a cash flow perspective, not from an appreciation perspective, is the cash flow. So yes, each time interest rates increase, the amount of cash flow that you have is going to decrease. So while the interest rates are still going up, your cash flow is going to continue getting smaller. Yes, that is factual. The good news for, I guess, real estate investors is, interest rates aren't like this thing that only impacts one industry, right? So everybody's impacted. The whole reason they're playing around with the interest rates right now are to try and combat inflation. Inflation impacts everything from, egg prices to insurance rates, and subsequently, taxes and also rents. So you are able to increase rents, and you probably should increase rents in order to offset your higher costs that are associated with investing in the property. And I will say that you should never buy borderline or bad deals, right? However, if you are interested in buying an asset, if it makes sense and you want to hold it for the next 30, 40, 50 years, I mean, you're a really young guy. So you've got time on your side, where if you find a good deal because there are fewer buyers, because it is more expensive, then you should probably take it down if it's an asset that you are interested in holding for a very long time. You shouldn't let the interest rates deter you. If it's a borderline deal, or the interest rates now make it a bad deal, which is probably going to be pretty prevalent in more competitive markets, then you should hold off on buying that deal. Warren Buffett has this cool thing that he says about batting averages. I don't understand sports, or especially not baseball, enough to understand the analogy in all the ways that I'm sure it works. But, he says that batters will have a lower batting average because at a certain point you're forced to take swings on less than ideal pitches. Whereas in the business or in the investing world, you're not, that force to buy deals isn't there. So you could, in theory, have a significantly higher or perfect batting average if you just sit and wait for the good deals that come your way, because nobody is forcing you to make an investment that you're not interested in standing behind. So I think that's prudent. And I definitely think that is an appropriate way to think about things. So, hey, I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for being on here. Let me quickly scan these comments, figure out if there's anything that I could answer super fast. Kimberly Vaughn left me a comment that says, "Thank you. You are sent by Allah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for saying that." Another question asking what state I'm in. You're always welcome to ask that. And it's always going to be followed with, I'm in Ohio, I'm in Montgomery County, and I'm in Dayton, and you're welcome to move to any of those places, because we need all the help we can get. All right. Well, hey, I sure do appreciate everyone. Thank you so much. And next Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be right here to answer any more questions that you have along the way. Thanks, and talk to you next week.